Well, I think there was a real need for Circ. There was a lot of interest in immigrant rights 10 years ago, and we had been working on a lot of national, federal policy issues, especially right before 9/11 occurred. The need for a state network really occurred when we wanted to come together and start working on state policy and work on issues in common that were affecting Coloradans and immigrants in Colorado. And so it was the driver's license campaign that first year. 2002, we started the driver's license campaign, and it just fell together very naturally. Folks just wanted to work together, and very quickly we had a very broad coalition of labor folks, immigrant rights folks, faith organizations, and individuals, lawyers. I think there was even someone who sold car insurance who was involved early on. And it just fell together very naturally that we should work together. And once we went through that legislative session, we thought this is a good thing. We should continue on and formalize this network and turn it into a coalition.
We really saw a need for this, for something that was cohesive, that could answer people's questions, that could help around the state, and not just be focused in Denver, because most of them has always been Denver-centric.
Starting Circ is that we had our heads handed to us on a platter at the end of the legislative session. I mean, we had hoped in 2002 to run a bill for driver's licenses for undocumented immigrants, and September 11th happened, and the visceral reaction of most, if not all, the legislators on the committee and in the legislature, including people we thought were our allies, was really hard to bear. There was a real anti-immigrant sentiment. There was a sense of almost, how dare you even think about a driver's license for the undocumented, because somehow in the public's mind and in the legislators' minds, they somehow equated terrorists with undocumented immigrants. It was really ugly to see. And none of us that were working on that driver's license bill had any experience in passing legislation. And it just became really clear that we needed to build power and build experience if we were going to win legislation that needed to have support from around the state. And I remember we were doing a sum-up meeting, and we were over at SEIU when they had their offices over on Louisiana, and it just came out. It's like, we need a statewide coordinated effort so that we can win this. Has the landscape changed since the creation of Circ? And has Circ been a part of that change? Absolutely. Absolutely. I remember when I started working on immigrant rights in Colorado in 1995 with Rights for All People, there was almost a fear of admitting that you worked with undocumented immigrants. And, people would lower their voice when the word undocumented was, we work with undocumented immigrants, and the very humanity of the undocumented was questioned on a daily basis. And I think it's been as a result of the groups that, that have been doing this work for a long time. Compañeros on the Western Slope, the Hispanic ministries and the work that Ricardo Perez and Karen Sherman Perez have been doing on the Western Slope. The folks that have been doing work, the Centro Humanitario de Labor Center, Rights for All People, the work with Justice for Janitors at SEIU. All of these groups and many, many more have been doing work for a long time to really raise the voices of immigrants within the state. And having a statewide coalition has been a place to allow those groups to coalesce and to focus and to work together in a way that what gets done is more than they could each accomplish on their own. So, I do think that the coalitions had a real place in building an immigrant rights movement in Colorado.
Ever since Circ, has been, staffed, we've seen a difference. Just the communications, people know what's happening around the state, and groups, are springing up because they see something that they can engage with and learn from. So now that there's a group in Carbondale over salt, there's groups up in northern, Colorado, southern Colorado, and so that's really is an amazing growth for the state around immigrant rights and having an impact and pushing back on some of the laws in previous legislative sessions, being actively being there and having a presence has been tremendous for in terms of immigrant rights.
By immigrant groups, and so as one of the sort of proving ground for so many other initiatives, Arizona, Colorado, now we're seeing Alabama and other states. But then, so a lot of the national pro-immigrant immigrant rights organizations then really wanted to be able to be engaging with folks in Colorado to stand up to those efforts from anti-immigrant groups. And so it's been really important to have a strong statewide presence to be able to translate what's going on in Colorado to national groups, and also to be able to really make sure that what is unique to Colorado is being represented in those efforts, and so it's not just national groups coming in and sort of dictating what should happen. So I think that's been a really important piece of the work here in Colorado.